Battle Through the Heavens God, the Flame Emperor Chapter 37, 7 Colors of Healing Flower Seeds. In this fiery red world, there seems to be no other creatures other than the illusory golden demon python leading the way. It is no wonder, after all, the living conditions here are too harsh, if it is not for the illusory golden demon python, which lives by swallowing magma. The alien beasts, other beasts, I am afraid that even the overlord-level beasts with the strength comparable to the strength of the Emperor, it is impossible to come and go in this kind of place freely without being affected at all. Just moments before Xiaoyan was about to plunge into the fiery red lava lake, milky white flame suddenly gushed out of his body, and finally completely wrapped his body in it. Puff! The illusory golden demon python's body was projected directly into the molten lava, splashing fiery red lava. Hearing this sound, Xiaoyan above hurriedly shifted his gaze to the place where the magma fluctuated, but he never saw a half-python figure. Where's the python? Seeing the scene that was almost evaporated in an instant, Xiaoyan couldn't help turning his head and shouted at the golden dragon king beside him. Looking at the lava lake that didn't move at all, the illusory gold demon python that had just drilled down seemed to be instantly turned into ashes when it came into contact with the lava, and it didn't even let out a scream. Follow. The golden dragon king seemed to be thinking about something, and then said to Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan also heard the words of the golden dragon king, and used his soul power to control the heavenly fire to surround himself, and without hesitation, jumped directly towards the place where the illusory golden demon python had just disappeared. The temperature was really high in the beginning. If Xiaoyan hadn't possessed the physique and body protection that had been tempered by the heavenly fire, he might not have been able to endure it for even a minute. With his body floating in the fiery magma, Xiaoyan looked at the slowly flowing fiery red magma all over his body with surprise, and a huge bubble slowly emerged beside him. Then, with a loud bang, it exploded, and some magma splashed onto Xiaoyan's face, but in an instant, it was swallowed by the layer of milky white flames. Xiaoyan followed the route of the illusory golden demon python for a few minutes, and an independent space appeared. There is still another secret in this underground world? Xiaoyan stared at the front in surprise. What appeared in front of Xiaoyan's eyes was not a high temperature like molten lava, but a small, dead world. The low sound of water droplets and the steps leading to nowhere gave people a feeling of trembling. The golden demon python also ran out without looking back, indicating that Xiaoyan seemed to be a fatal threat here. Master, this is... Xiaoyan also asked worriedly. Let's go, it's here. The golden dragon king said to Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan carried his ancient ruler of eternal fire on his back, the soul of the golden dragon king stood on his shoulders, and the two walked up the steps, step by step. According to what Yuoro said, this should be the crescent moon green fruit. Xiaoyan looked at a fruit tree in front of him, and regardless of how many it is, he put all of it in his pocket. It's not the most precious thing yet, let's go, King Jinlong said. Step by step, minute after minute, the pure white light shrouded this gray silence. Xiaoyan looked at it calmly, and even faintly saw, in the pure white light, a surge pink flower was standing gently. Colorful healing flowers? When Xiaoyan glanced at this cyan flower, the golden dragon king's voice with great joy suddenly sounded in his heart. The colorful and flaming flower, it is rumored that this flower is only born in the purest place between heaven and earth, only people with sincere hearts, and must also have the blood of the angel family, otherwise it cannot be subdued. The colorful flowers are divided into 7 colors. Legend said that it is one of the treasures of the angel family. If you master the 7 colors, you can live and cannot die. I don't know if it's true. The golden dragon king looked at the surge pink flowers in front of him. Road. Master, have we found it? Xiaoyan was also overjoyed when he heard what the golden dragon king said. He didn't expect to find such a precious treasure so easily. Hey, right. I didn't expect to meet it here. It's also a kind of search fate. Sure enough, Qing Yuan was cheaper in the end. A smirk flashed in the golden dragon king's eyes. Go and take a look. Xiaoyan also took a deep breath to suppress his inner excitement, and didn't pay much attention to what the golden dragon king said. Let's go, I will help you keep an eye on the changes around you. The golden dragon king also said carefully. As his body got closer and closer to the pure white light, Xiaoyan could clearly feel that the temperature around his body was almost suddenly rising. He pursed his dry lips, Xiao Yan gritted his teeth, and stepped on the sole of his feet. Again, his body finally rushed into the shroud of pure white light. While his body entered the pure white light, the expected blazing heat did not arrive. Instead, the temperature of his whole body dropped a lot, but Xiao Yan's originally depleted douqi and even the power of his soul seemed to step into the pure white, instantly moisturize within the radiant range. Xiao Yan was also stunned at this somewhat miraculous scene. After a while, when he came back to his senses, his eyes hurriedly swept around, and finally stopped on the surge pink flower in the center. It is still a surge pink flower bone. The flower is divided into 7 leaves, and the bottom is also 7 cyan leaves and a rhizome that looks as transparent as jade, as if the most sapphire is naturally perfect. The whole flower looks crystal clear at a glance, making people feel like they can't put it down. Xiao Yan also looked closer and closer to this holy flame. The heavenly fire on his body also illuminated the originally dark space, and a shocking scene appeared. He didn't pay attention at first, but when the light shone, Xiao Yan realized that next to the flower, the 7 green leaves at the bottom were firmly locked by 7 chains. Master, this is... Xiao Yan also looked at the 7 dark chains with great anger, because he felt a wave of evil power from the 7 dark chains. Without the Golden Dragon King saying it, he knew that it must be outside the realm again. The means of the evil race. Damn it. The Golden Dragon King also saw the 7 dark chains, and couldn't help but cursed loudly. There is no one who is more ruthless than the Golden Dragon King. This little surge pink sapling is suspended in the endless darkness, like duckweed in the sea, drifting everywhere. If it wasn't for the illusory golden demon python to lead the way this time, with Xiao Yan's ability, it would even be courting death. It is impossible to find such a relatively small flower in such a huge area. Master, what should I do now? Xiao Yan looked at the strange object in front of him, but he was helpless, and he didn't dare to act recklessly. Because this is King Yuan's and even the necessities for himself to conquer the holy flame in the future. Since we met, it's your search fate. This is something you can't find. So, let me come. The soul of the Golden Dragon King also said. Solemnly. An aura of a giant dragon awakened from ancient times emanated from the Golden Dragon King. Chapter 38. Awaken the last power of the 7-colored healing flower. I'm optimistic. The Golden Dragon King said slowly, obviously facing Xiao Yan. An ancient aura gradually radiated from Xiao Yan's body. Although there was no huge douqi, the aura was fascinating, as if a strong man who had experienced many years had awakened. His eyes and actions were full of power. Colorful healing flower, I never imagined that I would see you in my lifetime. In that case, I have the confidence to cultivate Qingyuan into a true generation of angel wings. The angel family has been silent for too long, and it's time to show their true strength. You shouldn't have appeared in this world, but since you have appeared, you should really exert your power, and you shouldn't be buried in this abyss of the underground world. Let me take you out, find an angel who is truly suitable for your approval, and let you shine. The Golden Dragon King's golden pupils stared at the flower in front of him, and at the moment when the Golden Dragon King spoke, the pink flowers seemed to have changed a little bit. Since you know what I mean, we still need your cooperation. Although the evil power of this chain is weak, I am worried about other things, and there are things that I can't solve by myself in the state of my soul. The Golden Dragon King stared at life that because of his own words, there is a slight change in the flower's body. The 7-colored healing flower is worthy of being the most magical treasure in the world. When the Golden Dragon King spoke, a pure white light radiated from the whole body. Obviously, this is the 7-colored healing flower's plan to use her last strength and the evil 7 chains to make it the last fight. Bang bang bang. The Golden Dragon King was overjoyed when he saw the colorful and glowing flowers. It was quiet for so many years, and it was time for the final struggle. Immediately, the Golden Dragon King chanted a mysterious incantation, and a huge vortex appeared around Xiao Yan's body. Another power of the Golden Dragon King? Devour? The colorful healing flowers and the 7 jet black chains exuding an evil aura were fighting to the death. The jet black light and the pure white light were at a stalemate. 1 minute. 2 minutes. The battle continues, and the pure white light is gradually suppressed by the jet black light. Go. Xiao Yan's body was controlled by the Golden Dragon King. After the Golden Dragon King completed the spell, the vortex in front of him became bigger and bigger, exuding a huge suction force. Facing the jet black light, he attacked. Puff puff, the huge vortex was drawn away by the powerful suction against the jet black light. The jet black light had just swallowed up the pure white light, because as long as the pure white light was swallowed up, their 7 chains could be reborn. But who would have expected a whirlpool to appear suddenly, and the power emanating from this whirlpool is the nemesis of evil forces. The jet black light was like seeing a ghost and hurriedly ran away. The 7 chains that had originally firmly locked the 7 leaves of the 7-colored healing flower were also slightly loosened at this moment. The huge golden vortex made them all feel terrified, even fear, because they all know that if they are absorbed in, it will be doomed. Golden Dragon King? How can it be? The figure transformed by the 7 chains was swallowed one after another into the vortex of the Golden Dragon King before he had time to tell any more. Bang bang bang. The 7 dark chains resembled the sound of glass breaking, and they were absorbed into the vortex and disappeared without a trace. Hey, it seems that my worries are too much. The Golden Dragon King looked at the 7 figures who disappeared and said. The reason why the Golden Dragon King wanted to awaken the last trace of the colorful healing flower was because he was afraid that there would be other powers besides these 7 figures. Just in case, the other was to devour these demons to gradually recover their own strength. The extraterritorial evil clan also has the division of strength, which can be basically summarized into 5 levels: heaven, earth, respect, emperor, and king. In the past, when the Golden Dragon King was at its peak, it was naturally possible to deal with the demons of the emperor level, but now it is in the state of the soul, and its strength is not as good as before. Only the 2 levels of heaven and earth are slightly better. But fortunately, the 7 figures in front of them were at the previous level, so there was the scene of the crushing just now. Phew. The Golden Dragon King restored control of his body to Xiao Yan's hands. What a huge power. Xiao Yan felt the power in that vortex and couldn't help but say, Master, but these powers are evil powers, will you directly absorb them like this? Xiao Yan was also worried. Don't worry, I will refine and absorb their power. Although this method is somewhat inferior, otherwise, I don't know if my strength will return to normal that day. The Golden Dragon King also sighed. By the way, when the matter here is finished, I will retreat to absorb these powers. Next, let's take a look at the colorful healing flower. Hearing this, Xiao Yan also nodded and walked towards the colorful healing flower. 7 dark chains that exuded evil aura shattered. The colorful healing flower, which was originally weak under the chains, actually grew a lot at the moment when the chains were broken, and the weak figure seemed to regain some brilliance. What's going on? Xiao Yan was also puzzled and never heard of such a situation. Normal, in this case, the 7 chains not only limit the growth of the 7 colors healing flower, but also continuously absorb the power of the 7 colors healing flower. When the power of the 7 colors healing flower is almost absorbed, it will be the thing. If the demon race succeeds, and we don't show up, within 3 years, something will definitely happen, and then there will be 7 more powerful demons from the extraterritorial level in this world. The Golden Dragon King also said, Put it away first, it's too weak now, keep nourishing it with your purifying demonic lotus flame. The colorful healing flower is not only a heavenly thing, but also likes flames, especially the most pure one like Xiao Yi, heavenly fire. Its recovery will be even greater. The Golden Dragon King also smiled at Xiao Yan as he watched Xiao Yan's efforts and the 7-colored healing flower. That's the only way. Xiao Yan also helplessly did as the Golden Dragon King said. On his finger, the ring bestowed by the ancient Emperor Tuashi glowed slowly, and the colorful healing flower in front of him was like a delicious meal. He let Xiao Yan absorb it into the ring and feed it without any extra thought. Inside the ring, Xiao Yan also deliberately opened up an independent space for the colorful healing flower, and the pure power from the source of the heavenly fire kept nourishing it. The colorful healing flower also slowly grew spiritually. The first flower bud slowly grew into a second one. It's time to leave here. Xiao Yan also muttered to himself. After taking a short rest, regained some strength, and then returned along the same path. He, little girls, look at your delicate skin and tender meat, say, where is Xiao Yan? If you don't say anything, don't worry about our savage hands. A bald head smiled wryly at Yuoro. Yuoro was actually Caught by this Chapter 39, Trouble That Can't Be Escaped. It turned out that Yuuru had been waiting for Xiaoyan on the lake before, and seeing that Xiaoyan had not come up for a long time, she couldn't help but feel a little worried. Really, how could I let Xiaoyan go to such a dangerous place? Yuuru blamed herself. After speaking, Yuuru's eyes also had some thoughts flashing through her eyes. Without any hesitation, she dived towards the lake water. Xiaoyan was now asking about the medicine for himself. 1,000 meters? This was already the limit of Yuuru, and only when Yuuru dropped to 1,000 meters did she realize that there were actually two worlds. Above is the lake, and below is the scorching lava world. Yuuru also persisted in the lava world for a while, but she couldn't stand it any longer before returning to the lake. Yuuru is not as lucky as Xiaoyan. He has the body protection and the huge soul power. But the mutation happened. Just when Yuuru returned to the lake, a big bald head appeared. How captured Yuuru effortlessly. Originally, with Yuuru's strength as initial stage of 3-star Dodi, if she wanted to, she can escape. Even the strength of this bald-headed 3-star Dodi mid-stage might not be able to caught her. But Yuuru just descended to the bottom of the lake and consumed a lot of dochi, so she was caught. Don't bother, I won't say it, Yuuru said firmly. Between the lakes, Xiaoyan held an ancient ruler of eternal fire that was flowing with magma. The tip of the ruler pointed at it, and dochi rolled over it, like a bald head that formed a fiery red cloud. Let go of that girl, Xiaoyan said solemnly, with fiery and violent waves emitting from it. He had been promoted to the initial stage of the 3-star Dodi before, and now he does not know what to do with the mid-stage 3-star Dodi. Xiaoyan himself is also waiting to see. Mueller's bald head also saw Xiaoyan and looked at him with a smile. With his bald head's eyesight, he could naturally see Xiaoyan's current strength, but how could there be a trace of fear? The bald head has not yet been shot, and the sense of oppression has already surpassed what the power of 3-star Dodi has. As expected of the young master of Qingchang, he can still have such a strong bodyguard. There is no doubt about Muller's strength, even if he is regarded as the best among many proud sons. Compared with those ordinary 3-star Dodi mid-stage, it is obviously much stronger. This time, Xiaoyan is afraid that he won't be able to show his power. Indeed, compared to the two, it is clear that Mueller has the advantage. After all, the latter is in the middle stage of the 3-star Dodi. He holds a superior weapon and has many means. No matter how you look at it, Mueller has a better chance of winning. Xiaoyan on the lake looked at the other party's actions with a flat expression, but he didn't care at all. His eyes were only fixed on Mueller. The strength displayed by the latter is indeed far beyond the mid-stage 3-star Dodi. However, in Xiaoyan's eyes, there is a fiery dochi slowly rising up. Before he has broken through and reached 3-star Dodi, facing an opponent of Muller's level, he may not have much chance of winning, but now is not the same. Why do you want to capture my friend? Xiaoyan also asked. Originally, there is no need for me and you to have grievances, and I have no enmity with you, but I also like the crescent moon green fruit, and I can sense that the people who took it before are not the real crescent moon green fruit. The real thing should be on you. Crescent moon green fruit exchanged for the life of this little girl, the bald-headed Mueller also said solemnly. I don't know why, but on the way Mueller could feel the aura of fear from Xiaoyan's body and the ancient ruler of eternal fire. Then let's see if you have the ability. If that's the case, then we can only fight it up. Let's see. 3 Mysterious change of heavenly fire. Xiaoyan looked at it coldly. His dochi instantly increased with the blessing of the secret method. He also reached the middle stage of the 3-star Dodi, the same strength as that bald Mueller. I'll let you know the gap between the real 3-star Dodi and your secret method. Mueller apparently looked at Xiaoyan and mocked. Although the secret method can improve the strength in a short time, it will cause a lot of damage to oneself, and the soul and even the strength cannot be improved. In Xiaoyan's hand, the ancient ruler of eternal fire expanded, and the colorful tips of the ruler were closed together, like the tip of a snow-white spear, shimmering with cold light. The dark golden vindictive aura of the bald head also wrapped around his body like a storm. Mueller clenched his spear in his hand, and said coldly, I'll let you know that with my strength of a middle stage 3-star Dodi, nothing can support you being so arrogant in front of me. Swoosh! At the moment when the voice fell, the figure of Mueller holding a long spear suddenly shot out. Several flashes appeared in front of Xiaoyan. The shadow of the spear shook and turned into countless rays of red light, covering the sky and covering the earth. Coming down, he pointed directly at the vital points of Xiaoyan's body, focusing on fighting like an attacking soldier. As soon as Mueller made his move, he was fierce and ruthless. It seems that the strength of this 3-star Dodi in the middle stage is indeed well-deserved. However, in the face of Mueller's strong attack, Xiaoyan also laughed, without the slightest fear in his eyes. The ancient ruler of eternal fire shook his hand, and he was facing it head-on. On the tip of the ruler, there were 23 rays of light continue to converge, and the terrifying high temperature contains terrifying power, like 10,000 stars. Bang bang bang! On the lake surface, the spear and rulers collided with each other. The sound of gold and iron erupted, sparks sputtered, and every collision, there would be ripples and waves of doqi, shaking the air, and the water waves on the lake were also shaking violently. In a short period of only 10 breaths, the two fought for dozens of rounds. Clang! The spear and ruler touched again, and both were shaken away. Xiaoyan's arm shook violently, and the tip of the ancient ruler suddenly turned into a white streak and shot out, suddenly stabbing Mueller's throat at an extremely tricky angle. However, just as it was about to hit, a spear shadow stabbed, directly deflecting the snow-white hair. Mueller's expression was cold, and his mind moved, only to see the snow-white hair scattered violently, turning into countless snow-white rays of light, like a sharp blades, that was overwhelming, covering every part of Mueller's body. It's really a weird weapon. Xiaoyan couldn't help but say. If it wasn't for that weird weapon just now, Mueller would have been injured long ago. Mueller's eyes were slightly stern. Xiaoyan's ancient ruler of eternal fire was also extremely strange. The terrifying high temperature on the ruler, even in the battle, would have a trace or string into his body, so that he had to separate. It caused him great trouble. However, Mueller was not a weak hand either. With a shock of the magic spear in his hand, he saw crimson magma rise up, forming a red and hot magma shield directly in front of him. Countless colorful flame rulers stabbed on the magma, making a crisp sound, and finally bounced back as many as possible. The figures of Xiaoyan and Mueller also shot back at the same time. Mueller's face was sinking like water, and the magic spear in his hand made a long mark on the ground, and Xiaoyan also fled back, and many flames on his body constantly surrounded himself and the ancient ruler of eternal fire, facing Mueller. In the previous fight, both sides were ruthless, but obviously they were all taken over by the other side. Many people were attracted by the battle here, and then began to pay attention, their eyes on the lake, all of which were slightly condensed at this time, and it was obvious that the battle should be coming to an end. I have to admit that you are very strong, but the time of your secret method is running out, right? It's time for this cat-eat-fish game to end. Take my last blow. The bald-headed Mueller was also mobilizing his grudge with all his strength at this moment. Xiaoyan also shrank his pupils tightly, and his body was full of terror. Chapter 40. Fighting against each other, the power of immortal level Do skills. In those shocking gazes, above Mueller's head, the scarlet Doqi whistled, as if a huge scarlet light wheel was formed, and terrifying power was exuded between the vibrations. Looking at the red wheel, Xiaoyan's eyes narrowed slightly. Bear? The huge crimson light wheel was suspended in the sky above Mueller, exuding fiery and violent fluctuations, which directly caused the ground below to be withered and cracked, and even the temperature of the lake water rose a lot between the lakes. Those eyes stared at this scene with a hint of horror. Then, that's actually an immortal Do skill? It's not surprising that this Mueller is a young city lord that masters immortal rank Do skills. This Mueller has so many trump cards. Then Xiaoyan is going to be in danger. With Mueller's strength and the power of immortal level Do skills, I am afraid that even those top-notch prides have to be a little more cautious. After all, it's an immortal level Do skill, and it's enough to change the situation. Many whispers sounded, and those looking at Xiaoyan showed a little more sympathy. When the latter broke through the secret method, he showed a very strong background, but unfortunately, he did not seize the time after all, and now the secret time is over. All that awaits him is. This Xiaoyan is still young and energetic. If he endured today's calamity and turned back to devour the crescent green fruit and practice, I am afraid that even Mueller is no match. Someone sighed inwardly. There was a trace of warmth in Yueru's eyes, and a rune like a crescent-shaped birthmark slowly glowed. Yuoro also felt the terrifying power contained in Mueller's do skills. If Xiaoyan was hit by that power, even a little bit, his fate would be doomed forever. Don't worry, I believe I can handle it. Xiaoyan was also aware of Yuoro's actions. Although he didn't know what that crescent-like rune was, the price of trying to use it was definitely not small. Yuoro also looked at Xiaoyan, who was still calm as always, and bit her lips slightly. She didn't know why, but she still believed in Xiaoyan. The slowly glowing crescent moon rune also fell silent. Now, Yuoro also smiled at Xiaoyan. Among those many sympathetic eyes, Xiaoyan's expression was also slightly solemn. He looked at the huge crimson light wheel condensed above Mueller's head, and the fluctuations emanating from it were extremely violent. This kind of power is indeed far beyond ordinary heaven-level do skills. Moreover, Xiaoyan also discovered that the spiritual energy of heaven and earth all over his body also solidified at this moment. I actually master the do skills of the immortal rank. Xiaoyan whispered to himself, this Mueller is indeed a formidable enemy. If he has not broken through the 3-star Dode, I am afraid that he will not be able to face his opponent's attack like this and choose to retreat. But unfortunately, the milky white flame instantly covered the whole body, and his doqi continued to gather, beginning to pour out of Xiaoyan's body at this time, constantly whistling around him, and finally gradually expanding, like a milky white tornado, entangling him. The astonishing fluctuations were released, and even the lake water under his feet was trembling. Those eyes outside the lake noticed this scene and burst into amazement. I'm asking you something. Hand over the crescent moon fruit. Otherwise, die. Mueller looked up at Xiaoyan and howled, as if a king was judging a sinner. Xiaoyan looked at the majestic Mueller in the sky, his vindictiveness restrained, and the ancient ruler of eternal fire in his hand exuded a strong power. It's up to you. Not worthy. Xiaoyan also said calmly. Although we have no grievances or enmity, since you don't know the good and the bad, then you will be offended. Immortal do skill, magic spear golden wheel. Mueller attacked Xiaoyan from the sky with the magic spear. Bringing up the water of Qianzhong Lake, the terrifying golden wheel aura is strong and terrifying, even in this space where the strongest are suppressed. As you wish. The first level of the 7-layered sky-shattering ruler, the first step of the 3-step swimming ruler. Xiaoyan shouted loudly. The terrifying flame power is attached to the ancient ruler of the eternal fire. With Xiaoyan's mobilization, the huge flame power and Xiaoyan's own vindictive energy merged together, and it also brought a water column of thousands of meters from the lake. Bang bang bang! The heavenly fire constant ancient ruler and the magic spear collided with each other. Boom boom boom! At this moment, the originally calm lake surface was turbulently rolled by the strength of the two of them. Xiaoyan forcibly stabilized himself in this fierce battle, raised his pale face, wiped the blood from the corners of his mouth, and a bit of madness also appeared in his dark eyes. Come out with full strength. The frantic surging in his eyes, Xiaoyan spat out the blood foam from his mouth, his hands changed hand seal again, and a huge, illusory golden body shrouded his body again. An illusory golden body appeared, and Xiaoyan felt a sense of dizziness in his mind, but he still gritted his teeth. Huangqin's anger. The terrifying impact of the soul emerged, and finally spread to Mueller, who was originally concentrating on mobilizing the spiritual energy of the surrounding world to supplement his do skills. At that moment, Mueller's pupils were all dimmed, first the fairy step do skills, followed by a powerful soul attack, 2 consecutive shocks. The damage to him is too great. Ouch! A large mouthful of blood spurted out of Mueller's mouth. He looked grimly at Xiaoyan, who was calm in front of him, but found that the latter smiled wildly at him, flipped his palm, and a delicate fire lotus of 23 colors quietly emerged, then slammed it on Mueller's body. Blast boom! The fire lotus erupted, and the bald-headed Mueller was directly blown away thousands of feet. Along the way, he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. He didn't expect that he was ruthless, but Xiaoyan was even more ruthless than him, and he directly exchanged punches for punches. This Xiaoyan is so terrifying. He actually defeated Mueller, which is middle stage 3-star Dode, by his strength of initial stage 3-star Dode. The people around whispered. Anyone can see that the battle has been decided so far. Young city lord, are you alright? A follower who was also bald hurriedly helped Mueller up. Müller's speed was too fast, and their entourage hurried on their way. After finally chasing Müller, they saw that Müller was beaten so badly by Xiaoyan. The injured Müller was not in a coma, but he was seriously injured and looked at Xiaoyan fiercely. Let's go. It seems that this great fortune cannot be continued. Too many methods have been exposed, and then the entourage carried the bald Müller on his back and flew in the opposite direction. All he can do now is to quickly treat the injury of the young city master. Of course, someone else will take care of it. Xiaoyan also knew that there was no need to chase and kill, and he should keep a life on Müller. Although he saw that Müller was seriously injured, he avoided to pursue this matter. He was breathing heavily. It's all right. No, the crescent moon green fruit you want. Xiaoyan took out 3 ripe crescent moon green fruit found at the bottom of the lake to Yuero. Although he did get more than 10 at the time, for Yuero, 3 were enough, and of course Xiaoyan took the rest. Yuero was really surprised to see that Xiaoyan was calm in the face of Müller, and even defeated Müller in the end. Let's go, it's time to go to the depths of the ruins to take a look. Xiaoyan also took a short rest and then said to Yuero. The people who were there to watch the excitement also dispersed one after another, because they also witnessed the battle between Xiaoyan and Müller, and they only had one thought in their hearts. This Xiaoyan is not easy.